today I am delighted to say that our guest is Avnish Goyal. A name you will recognise, I am sure. Avnish CBE is chair of Hallmark Care Homes, which now has 20 homes in England and Wales, and which, correct me if I'm right or wrong, Avnish, you founded around about 27 years ago.
26 years ago, yeah.
26 years ago, fantastic. Avnish is also chair of Savista Development, which specialises in later living care homes and retirement communities. And Avnish is also chair of Care England and chairperson of Championing Social Care, and founds the Care Workers Charity. So that is quite a CV, and I'm delighted to say we have Avnish on today, and he will be talking about and sharing with us how to best build and design care homes which have an optimum lived experience for the residents and for the teams that work in them. So it's going to be a terrific episode. Make sure you turn off your notifications and take notes as we go. So thank you for Avnish. Now, before Avnish introduces himself, let me just remind you that the Care CEO Success Story podcast is where we have the UK's leading care CEOs sharing what they consider their single biggest achievement. We've had around 15 episodes so far, and please go and have a look at previous episodes. And if you like this episode, which I know you do, make sure you do the good things and like it and share it and tell your colleagues. That will be wonderful. As I said, finally, my name is Adam James of Spring Up PR, and we help care providers get the fame and recognition they deserve via PR and marketing to help them generate more inquiries and ultimately increase occupancy faster. And if you head over to springup-pr.com, you'll find a whole bundle of webinars and videos on tips and insights on how to achieve that. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the episode. So welcome, Avnish. Thank you so much for coming on. So why don't you start off by telling everyone a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Thanks, Adam, for that intro. Avnish Goyal founded Hallmark Care Homes just over 26 years ago, and it's been an incredible journey ever since that first care home that we bought in the Hollies in Pontypridd. Yeah. And I got into the care sector. I've spoken about this many times, so most of the listeners, viewers will probably have heard this, that I wanted to make a difference and impact. I was an accountant, didn't enjoy being an accountant, auditing, and decided to go into the property business for about 6 years with the family and the family business, helped grow that property portfolio, took it to another level, and then decided I wanted a bigger challenge, something that would make me grow and develop as a person. And again, I've mentioned this on numerous occasions. An uncle of mine, my maternal uncle, had always said to me, it's not what you have in life, it's who you become that really makes that difference in life. And on that basis, I really wanted to grow and develop as a person. And I knew that some relatives of mine owned a care home, and I could see, how complex it was. And I threw myself in, decided to buy our first care home in South Wales and never looked back.
Terrific. And let's start off with that first care home if we can. What vision, if you like, did you have when you started that first care home? Did you have much of a vision at that time? If you recall your thinking at that time?
Yeah, obviously, again, viewers and listeners may have read about this. I grew up in a family business from the age of 11. My family, especially my mum, really did teach me the art of customer service from a young age, doing paper rounds, working in the newsagent shop for many, many years. And those kind of skills and ways of doing business and doing things correctly and always for the benefit of the customer, make sure the customer experience was excellent. Kind of carried on when I joined and did the property business. We always excelled in that, doing up our properties to a really high standard for our tenants to live in. And so the natural progression when we moved into the care sector was, it's a service industry. It's a business where you're serving people. And, you know, it wasn't rocket science to realize that in order to have a great business, you have to make sure that the levels of care that you provide were second to none. So we set about working out how could we deliver the best possible care in the best possible environments. And then very quickly we realized the only way you can do that is by having the best teams. So that trio combination is what we've been focusing on for pretty much 26 years in Hallmark.
And let's kind of think about what, in your view, you've learned over those 26 years. The key aspects of creating those environments, which, as you say, provide the best possible care for your residents and your teams. Because I guess I'm sure you have, will agree with me, you probably have learned a huge amount. So give me an indication of kind of the key elements of what you've learned.
Yeah, I think, Adam, the big one is obviously the only way that you can really deliver great care is by having a quality team and having the systems and processes around that team and the equipment for them to do a great job. And so we've spent, you know, a huge amount of time over that period is creating that Hallmark culture, which we've deepened and developed as we've learned things over those years. You know, there's been a huge learning curve of how to develop cultures, what a culture should look like within a social care environment, how to recruit the best people, how to train them, how to retain them, and how to get the best out of them. You know, and that's something that we've worked on over that period of time. And you know, I think we've got a very strong culture at Hallmark Care Homes of delivering high quality care, and something I'm very proud of.
And tell me about the building in the Hallmark culture. What might it be like for a care worker who comes in, you know, compared to other the big groups or even the single home providers? How might it be different, the feel of working for Hallmark compared to some other providers?
I can't talk for other providers. I can just tell you what we do at Hallmark. So it's not a comparison. We obviously recruit for values. We have a quite strong recruitment process. There's a strong induction that we have, because we believe that in order for a care worker to do a good job, they need to have a proper induction. Whether they've been in care or not, they need to know the Hallmark way of doing things. Then it's providing them the right tools and equipment to do that job, as well as having the right team ratios. We're very proud of high team levels and the expenditure that we have on things like lifestyle activities, on our food and our meals and that experience, as well as the overall budgets across the home, so that the residents can have a high quality of life. And you know, that's the key for our team members to have a really great experience working at Hallmark. Yeah,
and of course we've had the recruitment issues recently. Let's be gentle with that language, but I know for some other providers it's been a real headache. How have you how has your culture, your focusing on the culture, how has that had to change at all, or adapt or modify in light of the recruitment difficulties there's been in the sector?
Obviously, we've spent a lot of time working on recruitment. So we've actually got a team of people now that do recruitment, and largely we've solved our recruitment issues across the company. Some key things we did was we had a support fund for people that were challenged by the cost of living crisis, and over a period of time we've pumped hundreds of thousands of pounds into that support fund, as well as bonuses through COVID as well for our team members, to ensure that they felt valued. And one of the things we did last year was move across to the real living wage in all our homes. Many of our homes were already paying a real living wage or above. Now all our care homes are paying at real living wage or above. And that's something we're very proud of at Hallmark, that we've moved to that level.
And tell me about hiring managers for each of your homes and the processes you've had for that. If you're happy to share what you feel has been a key ways that you've been able to recruit managers who share your vision and fit in and ultimately do a great job.
Yeah, I mean, we're quite fortunate, Adam, that our manager turnover is very low. Most of our managers have been with us many years, which I think in terms of consistency and the quality of care is definitely beneficial when managers are in post for a long period of time. But where we've had the occasional vacancy, we've filled those vacancies with quality managers. I think people know Hallmark. We've had managers who wanted to work at Hallmark, and so when a vacancy arises, it's not usually long before we attract a high quality manager that wants to work for our company. So yeah, we are very fortunate that we don't really have those kind of issues within the business.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about the processes that you've mentioned again around team members and bedding in, if you like, the shared experience, the shared culture of working with Hallmark, because there are a number of different ways that teams can be managed and helped. Tell me a little bit more about what you think's been special and what you've learned actually works in this retention and this recruitment, and some of those and thinking about some of those processes you've built in.
Sure. Well, Adam, as I mentioned earlier, a strong induction I think is very important, and many organizations often don't have the time or the resources to do that properly, and I think that's where we've hugely focused on. There's a number of other things that we do. It's not just the induction, but it's the ongoing training that's really key. We've got a very strong and dementia program, our own dementia strategy, and the training that goes alongside that is very strong. We've got a number of other training programs to develop our teams in leadership, in management, those kind of skills that are very important when people are promoted to leadership roles. We've got the training that goes alongside that to ensure that, for example, someone could be a good carer, but they may not make a good senior carer because they're not sure how to manage or they don't know how to manage people. So we've developed programs to help our future leaders manage and lead effectively. We also have things like empowerment days. So every 3 to 6 months, we get together 250 of our latest team members, and we do, you might have seen it on LinkedIn, I do the first half-day session, and then there's a gentleman called Jermaine Harris who does the second half, and it's really reinforcing how Hallmark came to be, the family values, and the expectations that I have as founding owner of the business for the business, and people get to meet me, and I share the journey, share how we started when we came to the UK as a family of 10 with not very much, and then the journey of how through business we developed eventually the Hallmark Care Home business, and how those values came about from our parents, etc. So they get to really experience that directly from me, and I get to connect with the team. That's another way that the teams all feel very connected with the ownership, which can be difficult when you get to a certain size like ours of 20 homes that are across the country. Is how do you stay connected with the people, and how do people stay aligned to that vision and understand that? And another part is that we've got a big central support function in order to help deliver some of those key outcomes around care delivery, around hospitality, around the lifestyle programs, around our dementia care strategy, etc. And we're always innovating and developing new ideas to help the lived experience of residents in our care homes, as well as the working in a Hallmark care home, how that can be optimized as well.
Terrific. And this moves on then to the lived experience of residents. Again, going back to the original question around what you've learned over these 26 years about delivering care and great care. What's been the top lessons that you've learned?
Oh gosh, loads. I mean, in business, you learn huge amount of lessons. I think the key lessons are, get the right managers, get the right executive leadership team in place, make sure that you're there supporting, that you're in your homes to really touch and feel the care that's been delivered. And especially in those early days, right at the coalface, making sure that what you think is being delivered is being delivered. And I think over the years, the other thing which I've learned is to have a strong governance and overview kind of program. And we have a very strong clinical governance system that ensures that we have good monitoring of our care and audit so that we don't get any surprises when our regulator walks through the door, that we know exactly the quality of our homes. And if there are things to improve, that the homes are improving those all the time. And, a number of our homes are outstanding. The rest of our homes are good. And in Wales, we've got all compliant homes. So we've really focused heavily on getting not just the compliance, that should be a basic minimum, but moving above that to, provide very, very high levels of care.
Ablish, you make it all sound so easy, but there must have been a number of mistakes you feel you've made along the way, or decisions that you feel didn't go right and you've had to swivel and adjust. Can you give me any indication of things that didn't go quite so well and you've had to change, and what you've learned from
I mean, probably loads, but one of the things I realized a number of years ago was that we were buying homes that had been not well run in certain areas with low fees, and in fairly deprived areas sometimes, because that's where the opportunities arose. And what we found was, as we grew, it was much easier when we were much smaller, but as we grew, we found that it was very hard sometimes when these homes were potentially hundreds of miles away, sometimes 150, 200 miles away, to change those cultures easily and quickly. And we'd often fall foul of the regulator because, we couldn't get the right manager, the fees were low, therefore trying to make the numbers work, to get the team levels to the right levels in order to deliver the care and the training. Often, these are small villages where the culture was very ingrained in that care home, and trying to break that culture proved to be very, very difficult. And we made a few mistakes along the way with that, where we just couldn't change cultures. It was a huge uphill struggle. And that's when we made a decision to largely build our own care homes and not buy existing distressed assets, for two reasons. One is we could build and develop the culture from day one, but also secondly, we could build the kind of quality of the building that would be for the future. And rather than homes that we bought where we were finding that the quality of what we were buying wasn't to the standard that we wanted to operate. So we then decided about 15 years ago to largely only build our own care homes to expand.
Interesting. And I've got questions on that, actually, when it comes to then the whole project of designing and thinking about a care home from scratch. Again, what you consider are, and I don't know if there are generalizations here, but what you may consider are important, or you've learned to be important, that you might not necessarily have thought were important at the beginning, in designs of care homes, the rooms, the kitchens, the rooms around a care home, those physical elements. Is there anything that comes to mind as what you feel is being important and perhaps you've learned about the physical environment?
I think obviously we started building care homes 25 years ago, and the very first care home I built was Regency House in Cardiff, which we still own. And one of the things I looked at was there was something that there was a phrase that was used a lot, was fit for the future. And when I looked into my crystal ball and thought, what does fit for the future look like here? In those days, people were building 10 square meter rooms, sometimes without en suites, with limited day space, with narrow corridors. And I decided that fit for the future meant I would be building rooms up to 15 square meters, 1.8 meter wide corridors, lots of day space, and en suites. The bit I didn't fit 25 years ago in the early home was shower en suites. I didn't put showers in all of the rooms. So if there's anything that I kind of regret now, is I didn't go that next extra mile, and predict that in 20 years' time, the shower en suites would be absolutely the requirement. But we were building way, way ahead of our time already. And it was just another step that at that time felt a bit too far. So that's probably a lesson that I learned many years ago. But we built over 20 care homes over the last 25 years. And each home that we built, we've learned from the last one. We've looked at the configuration, we've looked at what's worked, where things should be placed, and then trying to provide new facilities. We've literally just opened our new care home, Ammering Grange, in Ammering in Sussex. We opened last week, and we've got the grand opening this week actually. And we've put new ideas, new thinking into there, bigger terraces on the upper floor so residents can get out, with lovely large wide terraces. We've redesigned our dementia communities to be far more appealing. Even though we were continuing to upgrade our dementia communities, they always still felt a little bit like they weren't as good as the rest of the home. And I think Ammering Grange, we've really excelled in ensuring that we've worked on good dementia design in terms of the cognitive ability of residents to navigate their way around the building, as well as the colour schemes that we've used to ensure that residents don't feel that they're in a dementia community or a community that's lesser than the other communities. In fact, the dementia community stands up on its own in terms of that feeling of homeliness, and it doesn't feel institutional. So, and we put things like ice cream parlours in there. We're always trying new things, and so this ice cream parlour will double up as a coffee shop, etc. So it will give residents, especially with the weather the way it is now, new things to do within the home. We've got 2 hairdressing salons, one in the dementia community, one on the ground floor, and a number of really inviting day spaces, really well designed and decorated, all quite individual in their look and feel. And very proud of the home. I went on Sunday with my family to show them around the home, and it's our latest iteration of what a great care home should be.
Yeah, that sounds terrific. I've got one last question for you actually, around, and it's just popped into my mind right now, is food and recruiting chefs, cooks. And I know, and Hallmark will be the same, that the standard of food in a number of care providers now is excellent. And I'd like your thoughts on that, about how you've thought about food over the years, and what you've gained, what you've learned, and maybe how you think about recruiting a chef to your homes.
Yeah, I mean, food has been high on the agenda for many, many years now. When I first got into the sector 26 years ago, we didn't have the same level of sophistication as we do now around that. We now hire proper chefs, highly trained, rather than general cooks. I think 26 years ago, they were more of the standard cooks that you might get in a local school, for example. Now we've got highly trained chefs that that deliver high quality food that would be as good as, and sometimes better than, the restaurants. Sometimes I've had the good fortune to frequent in London, for example. The quality of the food is excellent, sometimes too good, and our residents often complain that they just want bangers and mash or a jacket potato. So we have to make sure that we do what they would like, not that we just get carried away with presenting, like Michelin star gourmet food, which pretty much often it can be. We can flex both ways now, but food is important. It's important to me. I look forward to my meal times, and I know it is for residents too. So yeah, food is definitely very high on the agenda, and we're very proud of the quality of our mealtime offering. And it's not just about the food; it's the ambience you create. It's the way that the food's presented and delivered, and the experience overall. And we focus heavily on that.
That's great. Now, is there anything that you would like to cover that we've not covered up to now?
Something I always like to cover is the Championing Social Care initiative that a number of us started a few years ago, which really took off with the care sector fundraising ball, which happens on the 30th of September this year, which hopefully, if you haven't bought a table, please come and buy a table, and let's raise funds for the Alzheimer's Society and the Care Workers Charity. We raised over £400,000 last year. We're hoping to top that this year. It's a fabulous event. And out of the fact that we couldn't do that over COVID, the Champion Social Care Initiative was born, where we've got Care Open Week at the end of June. We had Care Sector's Got Talent a few weeks ago. We've got the ball, as I said, and then we've got the Christmas lunch at the RAC Club. And then we've got plans next year to do even more. And we've got over 50 ambassadors that are part of the initiative. And it's just growing and growing. I'm really proud of all the people within the sector that have come together to really shine a light on all that's great and good in social care, so that the public, politicians, everybody that's should know how great social care is, can see the great work we do, and that we come together to celebrate, to enhance everything that we do, and to ensure that we continue to strive to be the best that we can be. So I always like to get a plug in for Champion Social Care.
Absolutely, I'm very glad you did. So thank you very much for that. Avnish, thanks very much for being on the Care CEO Success Stories podcast.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that.